Hello everyone, this is RC0538, and we are back with more War Game Red Dragon. So, let's have it sped up. I'm taking a Blue Dragon's armored deck. So yeah, I'm gonna go for the middle. I'd say it's the best place for armored decks to go. Alright, now we're gonna slow this back down. Way down. Now, Armored's going to be taking the left flank. We're going to have Aegis over here taking the right flank. And we're going to have Crows here. He's going to be providing a lot of air support. So, right now, Armored hasn't really is pushing in, but his opponent, oddly enough, hasn't deployed anything. I'm not sure if it's because he forgot or what happened there, or if it was intentional. I'm not sure. But he didn't deploy anything, which could cost him the town. So we'll see how that goes. We're going to speed this up. I'm going to slow it back down because my tanks are arriving. Now, what I opened with, I have a KAFE 90 for recon, 2 Kirumarushikis. Now, the Kirumarushiki is a very effective main battle tank. It has 20 frontal armor with 22 armor penetration on the main gun, and it has an autoloader with a 12 rounds a minute rate of fire. So that's really effective at dealing with large groups of enemy tanks and enemy just groups of vehicles and the like in general. But it's also going to make it very good at killing the enemy's tanks, particularly, say, T-72BUs, T-80s, and we're definitely going to see my vehicles go up against a lot of heavy tanks and units. I don't know how to pronounce it. Krutzovsky. Kutzrovsky here is telling all these guys to defend themselves because they're taking a lot of fire. So am I. But the difference is that we've got a huge, this is just a huge engagement. Here I lost one of the Kirumarushikis, but he also has a T-72BU. It's getting engaged by ATGMs, getting engaged by K1s, and I've got just a lot of forces here. And so he's taking a heavy beating, as am I. Now this is just slowed down for the dramatic effect, but you can see just how fast the battle's going. So in just a couple minutes, I've already destroyed the enemy's 2 T-72BUs, and I haven't taken as many casualties of my own. All I've lost really are 1 Kirumarushiki, probably some infantry and other supporting vehicles. Meanwhile, I'm putting down help because I noticed that there were 2 different enemies over here, and that's definitely an issue, especially for me. In fact, there were 3 people who were operating here. At the time, I thought there were just 2. That's when I noticed the Afghanskis over here. But yeah, he's got an insane amount of units over here. So yeah, I'm just really focused at this point on trying to take the middle, speeding it back to 1 speed. You can see just how fast this carnage is really going down. K1 pushing in, that's when we see the T-62 again. He gets blown up, though, by heavy bombing run, gets hit by an F-15D. Some BMP-3s over here, very effective IFVs, an infantry fighting vehicle. So that was more so for me. I just, well, what is it? What is it? Is it a transport? Is it an IFV? What is it? Crows here doing another bombing run, but they are dead. Yeah, so it was really a waste. You could say that you could put the blame on basically anyone there. You could say it's my fault for not putting down dead marker, but you know, either way, it really doesn't matter. Some Buntai 90s moving in. They're quite panicked. I would be too if I saw all that fighting going on. So they've got a rifle, Carl Gustav, and a light machine gun. They're getting chewed up just by the amount of fire that they're receiving, especially from these Afghanskis. In case you're not familiar with the Afghansky is a anti-aircraft gun. It's not being used against aircraft. It's been changed to deal with primarily infantry. So it's got a 1575 meter range against ground targets. In exchange, though, you end up losing a lot of ground against your a lot of air range against aircraft and helicopters. At this point, though, he's Kurovsky is deciding he needs to get involved here. And yeah, I mean, he's got to push in order to try to save what we can here, or what they could. Because, yeah, they've lost basically all of their offensive units on this flank. Wings are taking heavy casualties to these VDBs. Probably bringing in some smalls over here to help out. Enemy at this point has brought in a group of, I guess you could call them spammy air tanks. One is the ZTZ-59-2A. It's good armor penetration, but it has low frontal armor. I personally really don't like this unit. This is the same unit, I think. Yeah. However, the ZTS-63-2 over here, very confusing. I mean, they're all ZTSs. But they also carry an ATGM, so I like them for that. In the meanwhile, while I was covering that, though, I ended up losing my Kyo Marushiki, which was not good. That really stung. And so now, basically, both of us lost everything that we had. Basically. So that wasn't good. However, this time we're going to decide that we're going to make the maximum of this income. And since I have a command tank, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to park it in here. So that way we can get the maximum amount of income. Yep, so that's these KM-163s trying to do a valiant job into killing that. They've got, of course, a T-80UM. T-80UM is another super heavy tank, 170 points with 23 armor penetration, and it has 20 frontal armor. Very lethal unit, so one I'm going to have to deal with soon, because I'm not going to be able to hold out against such a heavy unit. Crow's coming in with a run from his Aardvark. Meanwhile, I've got a Peace Pheasant up. Now, this Peace Pheasant doesn't have the best accuracy, you'll notice. It only has 40% accuracy on the missile anyways. And it's not the fastest, the plane isn't anyways, at 900 kilometers an hour. And keep in mind, most of your Western fighters are going to be flying at about 1,000 kph, so this is quite slow. Not as slow as some of the other ones are, but still is pretty slow. Meanwhile, boom, the Peace Pheasant manages to get a great shot on his T-80UM, and we kill it. Ordering the evac. However, manages to take some fire over here from, I believe, a Tunguska. However, once again, noticing that the enemy is deploying more units. Appear to be Legion 90s. Now, the Legion are a very interesting unit. They're a very good anti-infantry unit, but a very poor anti-tank unit. If they were coordinating this, I would say that you would not want the Legion 90s. What he needs right now, and I do mean seriously, he needs this. What he needs are more tanks, more ATGMs, more of all that stuff. Because that's what he doesn't have. And that would make him much better off in the long run. Meanwhile, we have a Nanion Shiki-E engaging as one of those ETS, and this is why I don't like him. Because the Nanion Shiki-E still manages to survive, even with not very good armor. And it kills both of them with its high rate of fire. Crow's doing a very high-risk, low-reward run, and he's going to do a lot of these. Because he is more of a beginner. He's not, you know, the best player, honestly. He really shouldn't be playing air support role because he doesn't know how to use air support, really. If he was in a beginner game, maybe he could get away with that. But when you're playing with people who have a couple hundred games under your belt, this isn't gonna fly. And, yeah, it's down, so it's really not gonna fly. Yeah, we're trying to pull back what we can, though. The ZTS-63, one of those amphibious tanks. They are indeed amphibious, which is pretty cool. They have 3 frontal armor. You can really do a lot of damage with them for that reason. A couple of recon tanks in the form of the Type 63s. Very effective recon. Nanion Shiki managing to get a shot. This time, though, on the Legions. Hindsight, I should have prioritized Type 63s. It looks like I'm doing so now. Another 40 points killed by the Nanion Shiki. Keep in mind, this is a 50-point unit that you can bring in relatively on the cheap, and it's doing a very effective job. Another 40-point kill. This unit is killed 90 plus 40 is 135, and then it just killed another 35-point unit. So it's done a lot of damage. Just this one 50-point tank. Don't underestimate this tank. It may not have a lot of armor, but it certainly has a good gun and packs a huge and heavy punch. This is something, though, that continually ticking me off was this recon tank. Now, the Chinese have these recon tanks. They're just really annoying, because they usually are just so difficult to spot. Yeah, it's just, you can't, and they just end up doing tons of damage to your guys. Really bothers me personally. Intruder trying to get a bombing run in, doesn't. Did it kill it? Yeah, it managed to kill that recon tank. That's good. Some Hans dueling off against some GRU. However, if that recoilless rifle continues to miss, then it's not going to work. What shot that? Oh, we have a... Now the enemy has brought in a T-64 BV. T-64 BV is a very good T-64. Has 20 armor penetration and 55 accuracy. On a 17, it has 17 frontal armor. But what's really good about this is it has the Agana. The Agana ATGM has 26-25 meter range, which is pretty standard for most ATGMs, particularly for the Russian barrel-launched ATGMs. But it has 55% accuracy with a 45% stabilizer, and the Agana has 22 armor penetration. This makes it very effective once again. Now, I've brought in... Oh, don't laugh. I've brought in some M41 tanks. These aren't recon tanks. These are just standard tanks. I'm going to basically use them as throwaway units for purposes of defense. Over here we have an M1 IP Abrams, and let's find the other one. Where is he? There's the K1A1. K1A1 is a very nice-looking tank, first off. Oh. Anyways, K1, very nice-looking tank. I personally really like it. The great thing about the K1 is it has, once again, that 22 armor penetration on its main gun, and it has max range, and it has good armor on just a 150-point platform. Very effective at killing off enemy units for that reason. However, I also realized that we had a huge lack of recons. We've got an OH-6 coming in. I'm going to set it up over here. Going to try to get some spots on, say, the BMPT, the Motos, the Legions. And if we had some heavy arty, and I think we're going to... someone's going to bring them in eventually. Shelling this for us would have been a great idea. Over here, what have we got? Ooh, Su-24. Su-24 with a bunch of heavy bombs. Well, not heavy bombs. They're technically lighter bombs, but they have 250 kilogram bombs. Very low accuracy on them, but when you carry 30 bombs, what difference is that going to make? You know, one of them is going to strike what you're looking for, and you get enough of them in there, they can do a lot of damage. I mean, these Marines are lucky that they have survived that bombing run. Engaging the BMPT, however, his gun doesn't have the accuracy for it. Well, not the accuracy, but it has the accuracy, but not the armor penetration. So I'm going to send K1A1, try to take it out. Miss again. The K1A1 never misses twice. Well, it does. It can miss twice. Boom! We have killed off a BMPT. So now, if we just look at the scores, we're at 2475 points to 2,720. So yeah, we're a couple hundred points behind. And if we look at the scores here, I have 1,791 points, which is just insane. Over here we have Kutrovsky. That's very hard to say. Kutrovsky with 1,018 points, but of a bit more of a balanced team, I guess you could say, where they're all doing quite well. So as we're basically, a couple of our people on our team are doing well. We have Crows, who's feeding a lot of points to the enemy right now. Mostly just because of his planes, and that's all he's using are those aircraft and a bunch of expensive helicopters and everything of that sort. I'm going to speed this up, because right now we're not seeing much. Oh, we just missed a bit of a duel here that I had with some ATGMs. They dropped off a couple of Factorias. He's really stacking the infantry over here, but there's not really much of a reason to use all that infantry. Unless he plans to push up with smoke. Not a lot of action going on in the middle, and it's kind of they're just kind of dancing right here in the middle in the town over here. Now, in this situation, I think having some riflemen would have been really useful. And if you didn't have riflemen, some assault engineers would have been great at dealing with that town. Meanwhile, the enemies want some arty dropped on this position. I'm saying we got more tanks coming in. Looked like we had more tanks anyways. TDBV over here. 120 point version of the T-80. Still a very formidable tank. Another high, low risk, high reward mission that's going in. Go ahead so we can just see my units. K1A1's shaken. I don't want that accuracy debuff that it has, so I'm going to pull it back and retreat it. Eho, meanwhile, is taking out the Mi-2 recon chopper. Let's see what that MD-500 is going to do. Is it going to come closer? You going to come closer? No, I don't think it's going to come closer. Let's move some transports over there. Then some Hyosam Mistrals. The Mistrals are going in. They're doing some damage. Just consistently arting this position. Let's see, what arty does he have? What arty is he using, I should say? No arty back here. Ah, here it is. Mortars. Now the YW381s have decent dispersion, but they do have a 7,700 meter range, and they have 5 AG power, so these can be quite lethal to infantry. Hitting tanks and other lighter skinned vehicles, and other armored vehicles, really isn't worth it. Doesn't do a lot in the end. T-72BU again going in. It's taking some hits from the Bradley. However, we need this dead right now. So once again, I call him the Peace Pheasant. Peace Pheasant, of course, manages to kill off that tank. Does a great job at doing so. Is he going to make it out? Oh, it just narrowly escapes. Just narrowly escapes. Got some more K1s going into Kiyomarushiki. Meanwhile, Aegis is doing another major seed run. So yeah, we've got a huge seed run going in here. For an F-15D who's going to do a huge bombing run. That did a lot of damage. Meanwhile, the my AA guns have decided that it's better to engage the VDV. So and that's one thing to realize, is that AA guns are horribly lethal against, like, VDV and other infantry. Oh boy, I don't know why I'm so tired. I really do not know why I am so tired. Are you just sending more M1 IP Abrams? Motors incoming, I think he means mortars incoming. A lot of fire going in. IL-102, though, barely manages to escape. One going down, though. However, we do have some Spetsnaz GRU that's lurking about. This manages to get a quick kill on my command tank, which really sucked. Delta Force, though, not doing too well against Spetsnaz and VDV. Coming in by the dozen, really. And basically everybody is focusing on this flank right now. Their whole team is trying to get an edge on when it comes to this town. I think the M41 actually hit this unit. Pretty sure it actually hit it. Putting down bomber incoming. We're going to fire at it. Hit it, but don't actually manage to do any damage / kill it, which sucked once again. Q Motoshiki takes a hit, shrugs it off though. Just a Factoria, nothing much to worry about. Engages the T-80BU, or T-80BV, but we do have another T-80UM, which, again, is coming in, so. Oh, and then there's the other T-72BU coming in. Kuturovsky trying to come in. Peace Pheasant, I'm ordering the evac. Do not want this thing to go down. Of course it manages to do so. And while Kroos is doing another seed run, gonna try to get it. Kuturovsky, though, has his T-72BU, he's pushing it into the forest. He's got recon, of course, provided by the GRU over here. Now I'm sending my K1s after it. Now this really isn't the most effective strategy, but it's kind of the only one I had at the time. That was to go for it. Once again, though, teammate doesn't go for where the tank is, but where it was, so it manages to get away, at least for the time being. However, the Warrior is going to have none of that. The K1 manages to finish it off and get the kill. Fourth T-72BU killed by me in this game. Now, armored up to 1,000 points. I'm 2,716 points. Meanwhile, the enemy has 861, 1918, 1863, and 698. So yeah, they have a lot of points, and the biggest problem that we have is that Kroos over here is, once again, he's still throwing away a lot of those planes, so he's not going to end up doing quite too well on the score. Buck somehow manages to get a kill on the Kiowa. Still, it can happen. You can still target helicopters with AA. A lot of Afghanskis here, though. A couple of heavy arty runs, though. Managed to put a stop to that all those Afghanskis. T-80UM very wounded. MTLBs coming in to replace it, or to repair it. Yeah, you're never going to be able to replace a T-80UM with a couple of MTLBs on the line. F-14's going in, doing a lot of damage to that PU, stunning it, and it's going to put it out of action for a while, and that's really the best goal of interceptors, is to stun the enemy and put them out of action. He just has a longbow sitting back here along with a warrior, and Crow managed to get a normal Apache kill. Another, 130 points for the enemy, which is definitely not what we need right now, is for the enemy to get more points. We'll speed it back up again, because once again, we're not seeing a lot of action in the middle, and that's where I'm primarily focusing on. K1A1 once again going in, taking positions on this line. Meanwhile, I've got some Namiyon Shiki-E's, because those have been doing a lot of good at killing off the enemy, and an M1A1HA. It's very effective. He's shelling all the K1A1, he's shelling the Abrams, just to stun it. And that's when we see the first Akula. Now, his teammate put up some smoke, which was really the wrong call in this case. So while it is smoking and allowing these tanks to once again come back in, it's blocking the Akula's line of sight, which is doing a lot of hurt, you know, for his guys. Meanwhile, I managed to get a kill with a couple of the Akula killed with a couple of 75-point aircraft. I wouldn't say that's like, woohoo, that's an achievement, you know, but those aircraft that are cheap like that can be, you know, I would think, oh, there's no reason to take that in a deck, it's just going to blow up, it's just going to die. But you take that and you deploy it against the helicopter, you can actually end up doing a lot of damage. So yeah. Meanwhile, enemies feeding the longbow. I really hope Eugen fixes that mortar trick, because that's really, you lose, sadly, a lot of helos to that trick. And it's kind of dirty. It's just really, really bad when that happens. I mean, someone might be able to make the argument, yeah, but you could do it in real life. I'm like, I could see it if it was grounded, or not grounded, but like doing a low hover. But when it's up in the air like that, a couple 100 yards up in the air, you're never going to be able to hit that with a couple mortars, at least not accurately or effectively. So yeah, I mean, I hope they fix that, because it really is annoying. F-117 going in, bombing. What did it get? What did it get? What did it get? Cheap 45-point tank. Yeah. Once again, make sure when you're using something like, oh, let's say, you know, especially the Nighthawk. The Nighthawk is like, used to kill the one things, and a couple things you can't kill. Its whole purpose of being there is to take out high point targets, to kill off AA. You can use it to fly around the flanks and kill off something that's there. That is what the goal of, you know, that unit is. The goal of that unit is not to just throw it away in a bombing strike in the, you know, on a 45-point tank. It's not worth it. And so, I mean, it may sound like I'm being really hard on Crows, and I am being hard on him because, well, you know, he did lose a lot of points on our team, and it's something that could have easily been avoided, which is the biggest reason why it could have been avoided. Aegis, though, demonstrating a very good job on how to use napalm, how to use effective air support, doing, once again, a ton of damage, tons of damage. Just a normal T-64 BM with good stats. I like this unit, especially in armored decks. Looks for good fire support, and it's just a good all-around tank. Now, the enemy, of course, has it this time. Ulfsark has brought in the T-80U. 155-point tank, but has 60% accuracy, 50% stabilizer, and 20 armor penetration, while having 20 frontal armor and 9 side armor. So very lethal unit, very well protected, very balanced tank. So yeah, I mean, when he plays Russia, you get a lot of really balanced tanks that are good at doing basically anything you need them to do. So yeah. However, Kutorovsky isn't micromanaging his KA-50, so it's gone into, I guess you could say, low flight mode. And I want to slow this down. Now, one thing that you can do, however, is you can put a laser-guided bomb in the cockpit of the enemy's KA-52. So I've got an F1 coming in. Speed it up back to normal speed. Coming in, getting a 100-point plane, killing off enemy KA-52. So that's my second KA-52 kill of the game. Pretty crazy. Really isn't something you should see a lot or would see a lot. Armored coming in on the side here. We should be careful though, there are some TY-90s. I'm not sure if we could see those. No, we could not see those out there. Crow's coming in with a couple of cheap fighters, 75 point I think, Phantom 2s. If you want to go after helicopters, they're decent, but I don't think it's really worth it to go after an MI2. If he was going after the KA-52, different story, but still manages to get the kill with it. So, yeah, think about that what you will. Yeah, this was a very long game, though. This lasted over an hour. It was a very fun game, though. Always, you know, it wasn't stagnant or anything. Well, Aegis is pairing, I'm guessing, like a heli push or something, possibly around the flanks. We'll just see what he ends up doing with this. Ulfsark with a lot of BMP-1Ds. Now, the BMP-1D, I know I've got to go over every unit, but the BMP-1D is one unit I specifically want to highlight because it's a transport with an automatic grenade launcher. It carries 240 frag grenades, and yeah, you get it for 20 points, and it can come with your standard infantry. So while the LVTP-7A1, of course, another transport which comes with an automatic grenade launcher, it only comes with Marines and SMAWs. However, the BMP-1D only comes with the Motostrelki, but the Motostrelki are a lot more numerous than US Marines are. So it's important to keep that in mind, is that it's a very numerous and very deadly transport, and its Grom isn't great at far ranges, but up close, very lethal. Meanwhile, Ulfsark is doing a great job of utilizing the grenade launcher and the fire support capabilities of it, wiping out at least, what, 24 Rangers? I mean, very quickly. Meanwhile, I managed to kill off the enemy's KA-50 using, one of those 70-point planes. It's a cheap trick, some might say, to use it, but it's very effective. I love doing that. I think it's very effective, very useful tactic. He's just trying to fly around another group of, I think, cavalry scouts is what he's got here. But, yeah. It's not... The IL-102 is not going to let that last. And that PGZ-95 is going to do a world of hurt to it. Killing the Tunguska with the aircraft there. Slowing back down. So we got about, what, 9 minutes left in the recording? The enemy's going to try one last major push. Now, if we look at the scores, they've really tied up. We've got 10,720 points to another 10,760 points. I'm currently sitting pretty good at a 3,904, while Armored is at a 3,793. Crow's going in with another run with a Nighthawk. Let's see, what is he going for? Thunderbolt staying in the area, I'd say, for a bit too long. What he really needs to do is use some artillery on that position. F-15D getting shot down, though, setting us back another couple hundred points, so yeah. F1, meanwhile, kills off 4 groups of the enemy Motostrelki. That's why I like them. Meanwhile, my Kiyomotoshiki killed off his T-64BM. So, yeah. Shelling my position, though. Now, one thing that the enemy is using here are a couple of Uragons. At least they're not using Grads. If they were using Grads, I'd be really disappointed. The Uragan is an actually passable HE-MLRS. It will do a lot of damage. Just please don't take the Grad. The grad is terrible. Some Molkas though, some Mistas. A lot of good arty. Of course, we have some great arty on our side too. We have the Paladin and a bunch of M110A2s for 90 points, yeah. Still not sure what this is all about. I really don't know what it's about. Putting down some I'm bringing in some resupply. Enemy's AA gets blown up. However, that M1A1HA is not going to stand up to the T80U though. It's just not. Especially not with a firing computer that's getting reset. Now this is where I deploy cluster. This is where you could do a heavy amount of damage with cluster bombs. Like say if I was playing a Swedish, I would do a couple of runs with those excellent Mjolnir missile cluster bomblets. I would have gotten a lot of kills with that. And he's calling in a lot of units. However, at this point, he's just going to start feeding the longbow a ton of points. And this is when Aegis' score goes way, way up, because he just kills off a ton of enemy forces using those excellent Hellfires. And these Hellfires, keep in mind, are fire and forget, so he can totally forget about them and still engage rather well. Meanwhile, Kroos is coming in with an awesome strike with the Thunderbolt. This is another great place where you can use it. The problem is the enemy does still have an extensive AA web. So, and especially when it's getting stunned by a Tunguska, it's not going to last for long, and if it gets hit by that missile, it is gone. Even if it just keeps getting hit by that Tunguska. So it goes down. Shoot. So, yep, everyone's kind of retreating, pulling back, especially after we saw that Tunguska, the PGZ-95, all of that pushing up. This, though, is not a great way for your tank to go out. It's probably not going to survive that, and as we can see, it did not indeed did not survive that. Yeah, VDV just never... This is why you don't send tanks into a town. Especially 145-point tanks. I mean, maybe he thought he could kill him. The best thing he could have done, though, the best unit to use would have been Napalm, done a Napalm strike. Which was basically impossible because of all the AA, so... Really, artillery would have been the best option there. Currently, scores are very close at 1,300 and 345, but now 1,300, 345. So yeah, very, very close game. The enemy's trying a Zhanshi rush, which is going to get torn apart by that Centurion and those M1A1s. Especially if those M1A1s turn their attention over to the Legions. Now, the game was a draw. I was feeding about 200 points. About 225 points, I guess. And so, yeah, I mean, didn't make positive, but here is where we lost 1,200 points in aircraft losses. He contributed a lot of command points, but still, he lost way too many aircraft. Aegis came in 300 points positive. Armored came in really positive. He did, what, about 1,400 points in damage. About 1,400 points in damage, maybe a little more. So yeah, very, very good game. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was a great first test for my Blue Dragons armored deck. If you want to see the deck I used, I'll put it down in the description below, so you can use it yourself. You can try it out, make your own changes to it to suit your playstyle. Anyways, this is RC0538. If you want more of this, like and subscribe to my channel, Couch Commander, and if you like it, once again, like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed. I'm going to sign out.